we are driving home currently from our church parking lot, actually, because we are heading home from there. It was the last stop on a multi-activity weekend, and over to my husband, Jeremiah, so he can tell us.
It's a long weekend home because if you went the roundabout way, we went on a four-wheel drive excursion, then we stayed overnight somewhere. Haven't been home in several times.
Like 48 hours, I would say. No, yeah.
36 hours.
36 hours.
So a short trip, but a lot of things happening. So this is the car ride home from that.
And we're in the Bronco, which is relevant because...
All right. Quit interrupting.
No, I'm guiding the conversation, as is my want.
You are not the guy in the chair. So anyway...
I never said I was.
Colorado Facebook group Colorado Bronco Owners put out an event, and a few people of the group decided they wanted to do Red Cone Pass. They haven't done it before, and Red Cone Pass is a four-wheel drive trail in Colorado, and it goes from near the town of Grant, which is a small tiny little intersection town at the base of Kenosha Pass. It goes north and a little bit east, I guess, but basically just north over Red Cone Mountain Pass and drops down into Montezuma and Keystone. That's where it ends. And it's an old mining trail, basically. Not like a forest road for service or a forest road for just access of, maintaining everything. It is part of the birth of Colorado, where all of this was the area where Breckenridge and Keystone are now, Summit County, were all mines. It was mines basically from Golden, Colorado, all the way to Leadville. And if there was even a hint of gold, they were looking for it. And they dug everything. And this is one of the passes they used to get from a very lucrative part of the world on Breckenridge down into what is now US 285 highway to get to the Front Range to ship out their ores and everything like that. So that's what we did yesterday. Woke up in the morning, got everything prepped on Friday. This is a Sunday, actually, that we're doing. So on the Friday, got everything prepped for the Bronco, got everything in there, all our survival gear, all our stuff, all our overnight gear and stuff like that, and went on the trail. Met up with several good folks, which I cannot remember their names at the moment. They're on the
One
Facebook
of them
group.
is named Jasper, and Jasper, if you're listening to this,
Was it Jackson?
Jackson, excuse.
You don't even know.
Okay, Jackson. Sorry, y'all. And this is one thing we said. We should have brought up name tags, and maybe we'll do that next time because that would have been a lot easier. Because really, I almost wanted to start calling every Jeep like Green 1, Green 2, Gold Leader, Silver, and all that stuff.
We have a green two-door Bronco. And we weren't the only green two-door Bronco there.
Yeah, that was wild. That was obviously popular.
And there was a green four-door Bronco, so it was pretty awesome. It was green Bronco, yellow Bronco, green Bronco, silver Bronco, green Bronco.
By the way, I want to add this caveat. So we were heading up there, and so there's a turnoff when you're on that highway to turn toward Conifer. And we saw this line of like 4 or 5 Broncos. We're like, I bet that's them. So we pull up behind them.
That was Pine Junction. It wasn't even close to Conifer.
Anyway, we pull up behind them and we keep going. And so they pull off at this gas station, which happened to be in Bailey, happened to be right near where we were supposed to meet. And so we talked to them, like, oh no, we're a totally different group. We're doing something else. So it was just kind of funny to be like, oh, there's other Bronco groups of owners that are doing stuff.
And it was the same Colorado Bronco Owners Facebook group, just doing a different event. They were going to Wheeler Lake, which is a much harder trail and not quite as spectacular in views, but it's much more challenging as far as the level of difficulty of the trail itself. Red Cone Pass is a 5-ish, so it's medium hard, but you can take harder lines, if you will, to make it a little bit more difficult. The descent is one of the more harrowing parts of it, where you're at the top, you're at 12,000 some odd feet, almost 13,000 feet, and you go down 25 degrees on loose shale. So if you hit your brakes, you're sliding sideways or whatever, so you just got to keep it in low range. This, descent, I've done it, dozens of times, so it's second nature, but the first time you do it, you're like, wow, because when you're in your vehicle, you're kind of facing the sky because you go over a little hump and then you go down and see the trail. So it's very...
Yeah, so it's like you're not seeing the road in front of you, which is a bit disconcerting, I will admit.
Yeah, and once you've done it once or twice, you're like, all right, this is cool now. And you get to see all the way through almost to Fairplay. You get to see Kenosha Pass. You get to see almost to Breckenridge. It's kind of blocked a little bit, but you see Breckenridge area.
I'll show some, I'll put pictures on the landing page for this too so y'all can see it. It is spectacular.
Yeah. So the trail is that, and it's a one-way trail from the summit down. If you get to the summit and it's too weird, you can turn around and come back down that way. You can go back down where everyone comes up, but for the 99% of everything, it goes one way. It goes up over to the pass and then down into Webster Pass, into Montezuma, or up into some more trails. And we get going. We're on our way there, and off the turnoff, past a group of 8 Jeeps who are all airing their tires down. And for you uninitiated, all you 11 people who have listened to this, you air down large tires in a 4-wheel drive to gain traction. So what it'll do is it increases the amount of actual rubber contacting the trail because there's less air pushing against the inside of the tire, gives you more traction, less slipping, just easier time to do it. This trail is probably one where that is really not necessary unless you wanted to get to a couple of rocks and just really try your hardest to get stuck. Then maybe you want to air down a little bit, but it's not necessary. I've never aired down on this trail, and like I said, I've done it probably close to a dozen times. Only the second time in the Bronco. The Bronco did well.
Yes.
Probably the easiest vehicle, 2023 Ford Bronco. Well, by far the easiest vehicle I've ever driven over it. Everything else has had a level of difficulty built into the, design of the vehicle. So, we're going along.
We pass these Jeeps.
We pass these Jeeps, and the folks I was with, good folks. All of them pretty good folks. They decided they wanted to air down. It was their first time doing it. They didn't know the trail. They didn't have any idea. I'm like, you guys do not need to air down. Like, we want to air down. I'm like, all right then. And so the Jeeps pass us. This comes into the story later.
Yes, it does.
So, like I said, airing down, they had some cool toys and tech that do it. You can hook up all 4 tires to a single valve and open it up and just like stop it when they're all at like a lower pressure. I did not. I just kind of waited for them to do that. Then we get going, and there's an intersection. There's a Webster Pass and Red Cone Pass. Webster Pass is lower. It is less technical, if you will. It's still very beautiful because you're going to the same area. We go up Red Cone Pass. We go for about 20 minutes.
No, it was like 10,
10
my guy.
minutes?
It was literally just 10 minutes. We go and start going up.
People are stopping, like, what? And the lead Jeep in that pack of Jeeps that I wanted to pass, by the way, I wanted this on the record for posterity. This is going to be archived in the Library of Congress one day, and they're going to be like, yep, he was right. And I'll be like, yep, I have a shirt made that I was right. On this one time, I was right.
On this date.
On this date,
yes.
I was right.
What date is it?
And the lead Jeep in that one had a problem, and I prayed that she get it done because her Jeep was dead in the water. It had caught fire.
Oh.
There was an electrical problem, and some wires melted against her exhaust. Got shook loose with all the rocks. Before even the biggest obstacle, it's called the gatekeeper, and it's the one that tests most vehicles. It was before that even happened, and she immediately stopped her vehicle, and they got a fire extinguisher on it, put it out. Everyone's safe.
Yeah,
that's the most important part.
That is.
Nobody died, but nobody can get around her.
We all kind of died inside, though.
We all died inside a little bit. The road, it's a 4-wheel drive trail, was 1 Jeep wide.
Yep, there was no getting around her.
And it was so 1 Jeep wide, a dirt bike guy, so he's on a dirt motorcycle, I can't remember, I think it was a Honda, but it might have been a Kawasaki, but I think it was a Honda, and he's trying to meet his friends who went up Webster Pass. He was trying to go up Red Cone as fast as he could to meet his friends at Webster Pass. That did not happen.
Yeah, he couldn't get by her.
It was an hour delay, basically what happened. And he couldn't even get by him because of where the fire took place, and there were 7 Jeeps behind this lady. And she wouldn't let anybody just push her off the road, and she wouldn't let anybody else touch her Jeep, and it was a problem.
Yeah.
She was untrusting of anybody that came along.
And it's been, it's any person's nightmare to be in that position. Because, and here's the thing. By the time that this culminated to finally actually getting past her, there were 50 vehicles.
Just about 50 vehicles.
Behind her and her train of people, because we were all just sitting there waiting. And we had no recourse, because we couldn't go forward because they were blocking the path. We couldn't go back because we had everyone behind us. So everyone behind us would literally have had to figure out a way to back down or turn around, which is almost impossible, to get back down. So we were stuck. And so we just were like, well, we're going to wait and see what happens. So
yeah,
it was wild.
There were ATV Razors, there was other Jeeps, there was a Lexus.
People were getting surly for sure.
Yeah, and here's a side note. If you drive a side-by-side Razor or whatever, you're most likely a jerk. Half of them were just no trail etiquette because they can go faster than a rock crawler, and if you're in their way, they just get all upset. And they were already nerves frayed because this lady wouldn't let them help, trying to just get her off the road, and finally did and got around. But the Razors they're not very good trail partners.
Yeah, if you're in a Razor and you're driving quickly past people, they pulled over to let you pass because you do want to go fast, and that's fine. If you're kicking up boulders that are bigger than the size of my head on purpose toward my car, you're an asshole. So let's just be clear about that. You're not cool. You don't deserve to be, don't deserve to treat anybody that way. Just don't do that. Slow down. And we did encounter a couple who did pass us who were not assholes. They took it easy. Everybody. They were fine. But anyone like that who immediately gunned it once they cleared our bumper and were like, now we're going to totally, just raise up some wake behind us, and we're sending rocks, very large ones, flying toward our car. Not cool.
So not cool at all. But those are the only two bad things that happened on the trail, was the fire and then the attitude of these ATV Razor. The side-by-sides are like the off-road vehicles specific, right? They're the ones that really were the only people that were kind of rude.
Yeah, that's true. Which was good.
Yeah, which is, overall a good trip.
Experience. Yeah.
It rained on us at the top, so it was very cold, very slippery. It was very fun. And how would you rate your first time going over Red Cone Pass?
I had watched, you had helped prep me, we found a YouTube video the night before, which apparently other people had also watched. People who had gone up in a Bronco, right? So they were kind of doing some video footage. They talked about different phases of it. They had emphasized how spectacular the views were, which I've lived in Colorado over half my life. I always feel like I know how spectacular it can be, but I still have my breath taken away by a lot of the views that I still encounter to this day. And that was one of those experiences. I also, so it was certainly worth it from the scenery experience. And again, we had a flux of different weather. It was overcast much of the time, but we had some sun, then we had some freezing rain. To the point where I couldn't stay out very long outside the Bronco toward the top because I was going to get hypothermia otherwise. But I thought the trail, I know you and I have talked about me potentially getting into four-wheeling, and, obviously the gatekeeper was, whoa. And then there was the rock garden and stuff like that, but it was super fun. It was fun watching you have fun because you would do this. Like doing it. You would do this once you would overcome something, you go, ha! So I thought it was really cool, and it was nice going up with people as well. And you just see too, again, 98% of the people on the trail were super cool, and it's just about we're all sharing that trail, sharing the space, and just experiencing one of those awesome aspects of Colorado. So I really got a lot of it. And I will say, I don't know what you think, I had one freak out moment on the summit where we had that thing where we couldn't see over the front of the hood, and I'm like, oh my God, are you about to go off the edge of this whole thing? Because y'all, I don't know if you understand, if you hold your hand, if you had a plate, hold a plate in your hand and hold it at at a very steep degree, that's what the summit looked like. It looked like we were going to drive up on the edge of a plate. So it was super narrow. I don't understand
this plate narrative.
I just think of it.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's an edge of a plate. It's super narrow.
Edge of a plate?
Yes. Like a round plate, and you're holding it at an angle, your food would totally slide off it. And I'm like, yeah, now drive your car along the edge of that plate toward the top. That's the summit of Red Cone. That's how narrow it is.
Do you understand what she's meaning? Yeah, we have a guest listener in the back seat, and she doesn't understand either.
All right.
So we're going to go off the plaything. What happens
That's
is...
my analogy.
This is an exposed peak above tree line.
Mm-hmm.
Tree line's like 11,000, between 11,000 and 12,000 feet. This is almost at 13,000 feet. It's not a 14er. And it is a one-way down from the peak.
Yeah.
Because it's so loose shale. And you can park 3, at most 4 small vehicles on the summit. There's a little parking area. If you go off that, it's 1,100 feet almost straight down to the valley floor, which is the bottom of Webster Pass. And it's directly straight down. So that's what she's trying to get at. It is not a cliff, and it's not necessarily a bluff, but it is steep.
Super steep.
And loose. So if you were to try to walk down it, you would create a small cascade. I'm going to say an avalanche, that's too much. A small cascade of rocks, and you would have a hard time even just like maintaining your position. That's how loose it is. It is the Rocky Mountains, so this is all just rock. So when you go up there and you, like you said, you hit this part of the trail, your hood is facing up, and then you just crest over into it, and you start at about, I would say, 19 degrees descent.
Yeah.
And you see people are like, oh, that's not a lot. It's a lot.
It is. It's more than you think.
It's way more than anything. And you get up to about 24 degrees of descent in my vehicle. Some longer vehicles have a little bit different angle happen to them because there's like a little bit of dips and holes and rivets and, you know, things like that around there.
Yeah.
But I got up to 24% on my pitch meter, which is built into the vehicle, which is awesome. You don't have, no longer do you have to have a little ball, you know, suction cup to your dashboard to see what your pitch angle is, which are funny.
Yeah,
so,
it was cool keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, and that's what I was doing. I was watching that and watching her a little bit. I wasn't even watching the trail because I've done it so many times. You know, it's kind of just paying attention to that. I wasn't freaked out. You know, I wasn't...
Well, I think too, I knew you'd been on it.
Yeah.
So I felt super comfortable. I'm like, you're not, you know, if I had been with someone who like, yeah, I've never done this before, I'd be like, okay, do you know what you're doing? But you do. So I have that high confidence that helped me a ton.
Well, thanks. So, and coming down that, we kind of went in groups of 3. So I was in the first group of 3. We get up, we summit, take as many pictures raining, and in Colorado, at any elevation, unless you're maybe in the far southeastern corner, but even then, anywhere in the Front Range or mountains, rain is never warm. It's never really above 40 degrees.
Yeah. Because it's come over the mountains. It's cold.
It's all cold. It's too high to get warm, like a warm summer rain in the south or something like that. So it's freezing. We're all freezing. I get in and I'm like, I'm going. And then I go, and I'm the only one of these Broncos that had a manual gear, so I went the slowest. And I just put it in my lowest gear, let off the brake, and just went. But it's very slow and controlled. Makes it real nice. We get down, have some pictures, it's raining, and then we on our way down Webster Pass toward Montezuma, which is a little tiny town just past Keystone Resort.
With a lady who, like, when you're going through it, like the 20 miles an hour speed limit that is
going
posted,
20 miles an hour.
She'll do her hand at you like, slow down, and you're like, but I'm going the speed limit. What are you talking about?
It's like Super Troopers. I'm already pulled over. Can't pull over anymore.
It was very much like that. I'm like, baby girl, we're not exceeding the speed limit. I don't know how fast you think we're going.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But what did we see before we hit the town?
We saw a moose.
You were all looking for moose.
I'm okay with
it. I don't really need to see
I
moose.
know, but I'm familiar with, like, so my mom has a condo in Keystone, and kind of around Keystone Village, there's like some kind of, it's low marshy, so it's standing water and some moving little creeks and stuff, but a lot of like short kind of brush, really lush green undergrowth and things like that, and moose would often be seen there. And so we're kind of driving through there, and I'm like, and also, by the way, the green had just activated everything. It looked super, like the green, it was so verdant, and everything was just kind of popping, and it was very beautiful. But I'm like looking in this like area, I'm like, that looks like where a moose would be. So I'm just kind of gazing over there, and all of a sudden I'm like, moose! And so I'm like fumbling trying to get our radio so I can like, there is a moose on the right. And it was just cool. And she's a big cow moose, and
No, it was an adolescent bull.
Oh, gigantic though. They are so big. But I got an awesome picture of that. And then I told Maya, I'm like, my day is complete. This is great. So it was very fun. General public and volunteer parking.
We're near Cherry Hills Golf Course. And
are they having a thing?
So, yeah, they used to have a professional like PGA tour stop here decades and decades ago.
Yeah.
Or like a Pro-Am or something like that. So it must have some sort of golf tournament.
Something.
I just saw some signs about parking. So
we're taking the long way home.
Taking the long way home on the drive home. So that was good. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Nobody in the Bronco group had any major issues, it looks like.
Yeah.
One of the guys was worried about scraping his step to get into his Bronco that he clamped to his skid plate, but I'm like, you'll be fine. And he was fine. So even those worked out. Nobody had to use their winch. We didn't have any fires in ours.
There we go. That's always a winning day. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got Titleist over here.
Okay, yeah, we're passing a golf course and it looks like there's a big brouhaha.
Yeah, it's a big deal going on over here. But after that, we said our goodbyes as they were airing back up. I'm like, I don't have to do that. And it was raining. I'm like, I don't want to do this in the rain anyway. And we headed back down the mountain, if you will, over Loveland Pass, which then becomes a little pedantic after Redcomb Pass.
Yeah, you're like, this is paved, this is easy, this is neat.
Yeah, and we drive through Idaho Springs, and on the way back, we ended up in Central City.
Yeah.
Which is one of the gambling towns in Colorado. But the biggest one is Black Hawk, which borders Central City. It is literally 0.9 miles away from Central City.
Yeah.
You can see the entire town of either one from wherever you're standing, basically. But Central City, withered on the vine, if you will, did not expand. And Black Hawk has these big Las Vegas-style casinos, which are dumb. So we stayed in,
Infinite, what are we... Oh, is that an Appa?
It's not the same one. It's not
ours. No, it is an Appa. Yay.
Yeah, it's a white Ford Excursion.
We call it, our Ford Excursion was called Appa, so we just saw one go by and...
After that digression,
nostalgia.
Going back, and so we stayed at a casino hotel there, the Grand Z Casino Hotel, and it was fine. It was the least expensive I could find because we were just using it to sleep.
Which was still kind of pricey.
It was still kind of pricey. It was a weekend price.
Yeah.
During the weekday, we could have spent a third the price, but we just didn't have that option.
Yeah.
But it was not, I would say, super overly pricey. For what we got, it was a clean room. But it was right over their live music stage. And so the floor was bouncing.
So if you are ever to stay in the Grand Z Casino Hotel in Central City, Colorado, if they try to put you in the low 300s rooms, which is the third floor.
The low numbers.
Yeah, the low numbers of the 300s or 400s, please ask for a different room because
ask for the higher numbers.
You will likely be... And to be fair, it looked like they only had live music on Saturday nights.
Which is when we were there,
So we were exhausted we came back to the room, and again, y'all, we're almost 50. So, we got back to, and we're not really, we can gamble, but we're not like
now,
into
almost 50 doesn't mean much when you're talking about the casino crowd, which is almost dead.
That is true.
I mean...
But
let's be real here.
But we did some gambling. But by got to almost to 10 o'clock, and we're both like, okay, we're sleepy, and because we'd had all that day. He drove for hours, and it was not like just I'm just going cross country. This was like some very technical driving, so we were tired, and so we go up to our room to go to bed, and they had just started the live music, and we could feel it through the floor.
Yeah, so we changed rooms. That was a downside to that, but we did change rooms, and they comped us some breakfast. So they took care of that thing there. It was just having that as a notice when you purchase the room or make the reservation would have been nice.
Would have been nice, yes. Because I think they're probably, assuming most people stay there, well, you're just going to be gambling all night. I'm like, nah, don't make that assumption. That's we had a different reason to stay there. We did gamble some. By the way, I did some video poker gambling, and I won $95.
Yeah, so then she took the profits, what I gave her, took that out, and then play the rest of the night with the profits. I'm not a gambler. I do it once every 18 months or so. So, whatever. I like blackjack. So I took $100 to the blackjack table and walked away with $102. So it's like, and had a beer.
And I did what I think I will always do if I'm ever in that situation. As soon as I won, I cashed out of that machine. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm going to go, and now I'm going to pocket, and then I'm like, okay, if I had some winning stuff, but I'm not going to just blow everything I just won. So, but again, I'm not a career or hobbyist gambler, but it was fun. It was a really nice weekend too. I know we've been talking about doing this since I got hired in March for my job, and it was nice to get up there. And yeah, what a way to. I love experiencing Colorado. That's one reason we really wanted to talk about all this, because it was a cool experience for you as a Bronco owner, me as your wife, us going and seeing a part of Colorado I haven't seen before, but you haven't seen for a bit. And then yeah, just going up in Central City. It is a very historical little town, struggling, frankly, but like we found. Oh, and I have to talk about this. So there was so in Central City they have an opera house, and then they have the Teller House, which I think is like the box office and like an affiliated.
It's all part of the historic district of Central City.
Yeah, but there's space between the two of those. Does this lady have a top on?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It is flesh colored.
Wow. Sorry, we're coming up behind the pedestrians. I'm like, I don't know. But I mean, hey, you do you. But so between the Teller House and the Opera House, we found like there's like, oh, someone had like donated to build this kind of garden in there, like
in
a
the
spiritual.
60s, so we should have seen this before. But
yeah. So he had to go to the restroom, so I'm like, I just go in there. I'm not just hang out here. So I just start walking into it, and the thing, I don't know if y'all are like me, but like it kept showing me like a new staircase that led to something else and a terrace and a thing, and I'm like, I keep going, and there's no gates barring any of this stuff. So he and I wound up being almost just about on the roof of Teller House, looking out over the whole city, and it was kind of cool. So I just had fun with that. It was nice.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And my daughter likes old air-cooled V-dubs, and we're passing one, and it's pretty cool. It's got a roof rack.
Yeah, it does. Dang. Pretty nifty little...
Some swag. So that was awesome. Gambling. The food was okay. It was just not right. We should have gotten more healthy food. That's on us.
Yeah, we're both greased out at this point.
It was hard to find healthy options there, and after we ate dinner, because we were just exhausted and like we're not spending a long time researching dinners.
Yeah.
Found some spots where we could have had like a salad or something, but that was much after we ate onion rings and a burger.
Yeah, the breakfast was good though. That we got comped was actually surprising. Sorry.
So we got that, walked around, then we did a little bit of gambling. We were there just to do a little bit, and I support gambling there because the gambling supports historic preservation in Colorado. So there's museums in Colorado and preservation projects that are funded by the revenues from the gambling in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it took such a big hit in COVID, because you couldn't gamble.
Yeah, and the historic preservation took a hit because all the casinos had to shut down for COVID during that whole pandemic thing. But so we went into Central City, which is the older part, found a $5 blackjack table because I do not have money, one, and two, I'm not really a gambler, so I didn't really like to gamble a lot. Like I said, ended up put $100 down, ended up with $100 out, and had a good time. It was like 2.5 hours or so just sitting down talking to people there. That's the thing about blackjack I like, is you can just talk to people and talk to the dealers. It's very social, unlike slot machines or poker even, because you don't want to really socialize in poker. You're playing against the people around you.
Yeah, you're like trying to like find tells and like bluff each other, and
which is part of poker, which is fine. If you're into it, it's awesome, but it's not for me. So that was good. And then the whole room kerfuffle got comped some breakfasts at their little grill that they had there, and I had just basically a skillet. So diced potatoes with like mushrooms and onions and stuff like that on there, and cheese and everything. And for $5 extra, add some prime rib. I'm like, oh, must be last night's prime rib. It was, but man, it was tasty.
And he got mad too because he ordered his eggs over easy, and I ordered mine over medium. And when they brought out the food, simple mistake, but I got the over easy eggs, and the whole meal he kept pointing, like, those are my eggs.
The lesson learned is that she has to order over easy every time I order over easy.
I really don't think
especially
I do, because
she's got huevos rancheros with a runny thing on top of it.
Again, not my problem that they gave me your eggs.
It is now.
But they tasted really good, so no regrets.
Yeah, and then we went to church from Blackhawk. It was awesome, and it was our church picnic day. So we were just coming from that. Also, burgers and brats. I'm like, I didn't really eat.
Yeah.
And had some Gatorade. No beers for us. even though our church does provide a cooler full of, beers and stuff. Nothing crazy. And a little sangria for the adults, if you so chose. Did not do any of that.
And compliment our pastor on his mustache.
And our pastor has a mustache now. So now we are home. And that was our ride home from our current weekend. And we might do another ride home very soon, because I want to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes, as do I. I do want to see that as well, so we'll definitely cover that. But yeah.
And so does my daughter.
Yes, she's in the back saying yes. All right, well, thank you for listening. Awesome rundown. There should be comments available if you want to engage with this on our webpage for this. But yeah, let us know what you think if you've partaken in any of these things. But that has been the car ride home.
Awesome.
Okay, bye everybody.